Welcome to Logistics Business Conversations, where we talk with key spokespeople in the logistics industry about topical issues. Hosted by Peter MacLeod, editor of Logistics Business magazine.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. My name's Peter MacLeod and I welcome you all to this latest edition of Logistics Business Conversations. Today's episode promises to be quite a good one, I have to say. We're going to be looking at the next big leap in logistics, which is effectively an AI-powered, fully connected supply chain, and in particular, the emerging tools making that future real right now. I'm delighted to be joined today by my guest, Sjoerd Eekelaar, Cargo.On's Chief Customer Officer. Hi, Sjoerd, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
You're very welcome. So, Sjoerd, with all this talk of digitalization, what are the real day-to-day problems that shippers are trying to solve, first of all?
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for asking that. We see still a lot of things which are basically a bit old school, but we still see a lot of Excel, we see a lot of calling, we see a lot of problems looking for capacity. And what we also see, and that's one of the things that is really important, I think, within the coming future, is that the lack of building a relationship with the carriers and the carrier portals. We see that it's really important as drivers are getting older, capacity is getting scarce. It's really important to build a really good relationship with your carrier within the coming years.
It's quite a jump, though, isn't it, Sjoerd, to go from Excel, these manual processes, into a fully digital operation?
Absolutely. It is quite a jump, and it's not something you need to do straight away. You can also do this step by step. But we think it's important, especially within the future, that you work this in a more digitized way and also do this in a kind of modular sense. So Rome is not built in a day. So you can also start with execution, then move to time slot booking, etc., etc. But even though we're doing that, keep always a big sense on the capacity.
What are the kind of challenges that technology will help overcome then? We've talked about resilience. Where else can businesses benefit?
I think there are a few things. First of all, when we go to the digitalization, we take away a lot of Excel files, all of these things. So that is a first step. So it's being about working in a digital perspective, which is a platform like Cargo.On. But next to that, we will move towards agents. We will move towards AI agents who are solving your problems. And by saying solving your problems, if we look to Cargo.On, which is part of the Trans-EU network, we have 40,000 carriers which are working, so active carriers which are working on the platform. With all of this work and all of these carriers, we also get a lot of data. And by getting the data, we can use this data also in an AI agent. So we see that going forward, and that is, let's say, the more digitized way 2.0, where we move more and more into an agent way of working.
Trans-EU, that's a name I know very well. So tell us a little bit more about Trans-EU and Cargo.On in particular.
Exactly. Yeah. So Trans-EU Group, established in 2004, Polish company. And from Poland, we are going more and more into Europe. So we're going more and more into Western Europe and Southern Europe. It's a European leader of freight tech and fintech, and all related to Europe's largest freight exchange. So it's a group. We onboarded a lot of carriers, and with these carriers are using our platform as the European leading freight exchange. We are also moving more and more into the future. So with that, we are one of the first AI-driven road transport marketplaces. We have this pool of carriers, and from this pool of carriers exists Cargo.On. So what we are doing is Cargo.On is an innovative digital freight platform enabling end-to-end digitalization for shippers. So we are doing this only for shippers and not for carriers.
Within the supply chain, there's so many different elements, so many different stages. It's very complicated. And I have to say, because I've been writing about it for 20 plus years, I never run out of stories, but it's a very complicated and very interesting sector. AI tools seem to be ideally suited to optimize this type of industry. And I guess that's what you're targeting there.
Yeah, exactly. And that also reflects a bit the sustainability part that we're trying to cover, is that as we have all this data and we know where trucks are going and coming from, we also see where trucks are getting empty, or we also see where trucks are being asked for capacity. So still in Europe, there is a huge amount of carriers who are driving empty. And this empty is, of course, a waste of effort, a waste of money, but also not sustainable or not environmental friendly. So if we use AI tools, we can see and predict already where capacity is, where trucks are being found, and also which determined a good price for shippers, but also for the carrier. Because if you look to Cargo.On, but especially to TransEU, which is our mother company, we are there where the carriers are. We were founded from the carriers, and this is where we are grown up with. And now we're moving towards the shipper side.
So tell me in practical terms how it works. I mean, how do you go about reducing empty runs?
If you look to loads and if we look to going from A to B, then we can predict based on the data that we have what is a really good place to look for loads. We also know where trucks are getting empty. And what is really important, and that is really in our veins, is we are into the network business. So what does it mean? That means that we are a platform from users to users. So everybody who's using the platform can grow the platform, which also means that, and as an example, Peter, I always say that we all like WhatsApp or we all like Netflix, but if you're the only one who's using Netflix, then it makes no sense. That's the same with a platform, right? If not all the carriers or not all the shippers are using it, it makes no sense. So where I wanted to go to is that in this network effect, we work with, let's just say we work with producers of fast-moving consumer. We work with retailers, but we also use with the paper and packaging producers. So if you combine this road where a truck is unloading could be a customer or a capacity demand for somebody who is loading again. So in this network, we see that everything is connected with each other.
So what are the stages of transportation that Cargo.On can help businesses with? Is it end to end?
Yeah, it's end to end. So we have a modular setup where we start with assignment. It is time slot management, is visibility, ECMR, etc., etc. So we have an all scope of varieties which we can help you with in a modular setup. So you don't need to use everything. And there are basically three things that are really, really in our core, and we call them the 3 Cs, and maybe it's the 4 Cs because costs are also avoided there. So it's capacity, communication, and connectivity. And of course, everything is important, especially costs. So that's why we are focusing on these 4 things. If we look to our core business, we take care of the communication between your ERP system and the carriers. And please, Peter, don't get me wrong, we are not a TMS and we don't want to be a TMS. So we connect with your TMS. We also don't want to fight. We have really good relationships with all TMSs. And we try to work with that. So if you look to that, it is communication between you, the drivers, and the shippers. It is about connectivity. So we take care of the connectivity part. Europe, super diverse, 28 different countries, 28 different languages, and we speak them all. So we connect. You don't need to do that. And then there is the essential part, which is capacity. So looking at capacity for shippers, we take care of this in the sense that with the AI agents, etc., we make sure that you have the right capacity at the right time.
Success will come in the size of the network and the number of users. So you talked earlier about the Netflix and WhatsApp situation.
From a TransEU perspective, we started in 2004 in a garage in Wrocław. We're still based in Wrocław, though we grow now to almost 1,000 employees. And we are still a predominantly European company. So we have offices in Poland, we have offices in Romania, but also Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands and Germany. So we are a European company. And then since 2004, we started building the network. And if you see the network in TransEU, it is similar then that we use at Cargo.On. And the nice thing is, and this is unique to be honest, is that from a Cargo.On perspective, you can use the entire network community as your capacity hub. You see a lot of companies who are using only a private freight exchange or doing this with a selected party. At our side, you can do it also in a private freight exchange, but you can also have a public freight exchange. So you can ask all the users, so all the carriers, for capacity within your network. And then a special unique thing, which is the second one, Peter, is that we can also guarantee the quality of the carrier. So the onboarding of the carrier is not like a petertransport@hotmail.com. No, it is really throughout selection, where we also look into the financial status, quality, etc., etc.
Are you able to do that with people on the ground? Do you have physical inspections?
Yes, we do. We can do that with people on the ground. So one part of the Transeur group is Transcash, and this is the fintech part of us. And with this situation, we really look into the financial situation. But we're also within this financial situation to help carriers, or to help with invoicing, or to help with diesel passes and all of these things.
I was seeing on your website that a Transeu ecosystem has 40,000 verified transport companies, and also those are the active ones. Now, here's a question for you. I'm going to ask you to narrow that down to one. Give me one specific customer example. Just talk me through a user case, so that our listeners can understand how, your technology can benefit them on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. So one of the customers that is using our full scope is a company called Eurocash. It is one of Poland's biggest retailers, and they're using the assignment, but they're also using our slot booking system. And which is really nice is that this is not only used by the carriers to book a slot, but it's also used by the suppliers. So what I mean to say is that if a carrier is driving for, as an example, Nestlé, then Nestlé has the opportunity to book a time slot or book a slot for the carrier. And so we not only have onboarded these carriers, but we also onboarded the suppliers. And we are they are really a good partner of us. We do slot booking with them, assignment, and all kinds of other modules which we are doing together. And what is quite nice is that, as I said before, it is a platform from the customers for the customers. Means that we're also co-developing features and functions for them, which are then also available for other customers.
And what about implementation and this customer interface? How does that look? Is that something that, somebody like me without great digital skills could easily get my head around?
I think so, Peter. So if we look to integration, we have teams who take care of that, but it's also something that we do together. So we really have this partner approach here. And we are also here to help, in the sense that see us as a trusted advisor. We try to help you and to guide you into the success, because your success is also our success. And implementation with us usually takes 8 weeks, and we take care of the APIs, we take care of the integration. But, and this is really important, not only with us, but with every new project you start, something that we cannot do alone. So also from your side, there needs to be change management. Also here we can help, but it's something that we need to do together.
Well, we've talked about AI and the part it plays in your technology. What sort of investment are you making in the AI technology currently?
We had this keynote session last month, where and keynote is one of our yearly events where we say, hey, how was the year, but also what we will do next year. And we have full focus when it comes to AI, because as you said, in AI and logistics, especially with the network thought, there is a huge amount of things that we can do.
We often hear that AI is coming for our jobs. Well, we know that's not the case, but it's certainly going to come and make a difference to our working lives. How do you see AI making a direct impact on the kind of business that we're in?
We are moving towards what we call agents as a service. And with agents as a service, we have an intelligent software agents who are doing the execution, but also the data-driven decisions, and they're doing it on behalf of the shipper. We are not there yet. It's something that we're working towards, but this is a shift that is taking a lot of investment, and we are investing a huge amount into this.
Of course, Sjoerd, we've got driver shortages as an issue globally, but specifically in Europe as well. So is the technology we're talking about here something that can help businesses to reduce their reliance on human drivers and to help better overcome this challenge?
Peter, we cannot make drivers, right? So it is just a less interesting profession nowadays. And we're still relying more and more on Eastern European drivers. And don't forget, 27% of all freights in Europe are still driven over road. I know intermodal, multimodal, it's all coming, but it's all going very, very, very slow. Our platform is helping the drivers, not only when it comes to shippers, but also when it comes to drivers, as they're giving them a lot of advantages, but also they can use it on their phone. They can see in the platform what capacity is available. And it all needs to be a balance, right? So there need to be enough capacity and there need to be but loads. That's why we keep saying that it is a platform for the carriers, from the carriers, as it is for the shippers and from the shippers. We are helping the carriers more, not only when it comes to giving them the right loads, but also when it comes to financial services, when it comes to diesel passes, all of these things, because we come from the carrier side.
So, Sjoerd, we talked about the 3 C's and you added the 4th C, which was cost. Now, ROI is such an important measure for businesses when they're engaging with third parties. Tell us a little bit about that. What can you tell your customers when they ask that question?
Yeah, also very good questions, because the end, this is where it all matters, right?
Yeah.
And I want to give two examples. First of all, when we look to capacity and getting the right capacity on the right time, then the question is, what is the price of not delivering, or what is the price or delivering too late? I think that's really, really hard to put a figure on. I know when you are delivering to the Tesco's and the Auchans of this world, you get a penalty, etc. So that's one of the things that is really, really hard to put into. And also looking into just in time, which is still very odd, especially in automotive with all the sequencing. I think it's very hard to push into a figure what it will cost. So that's into capacity. And there, I think everybody knows, huge value of having the right truck on the right time. When we look into the connectivity, so the assignment suite, there we have a lot of examples where even slot booking made 70% of better costs, or 70% of saving into the current cost, because they didn't have any, or they had a lot of waiting costs, or there was a huge queue, or they worked with an Excel file. So it is really a case per case situation. But to be honest, we can all give examples here, and we have all business cases and per module, so we can look into this case by case.
Now, Sjoerd, I want to you indulge me here. I'm going to ask you to get out your crystal ball, and I'm going to ask every guest this. I'm going to ask you to not necessarily predict the future of the industry, but I want you to tell me how you see the next few years panning out, and where may we be, for example, 5 years from now?
What's next in logistics? We're asking the experts. In our Crystal Ball segment, industry leaders share their predictions for the future.
I think this all depends a bit on what kind of business it is, what kind of company, what kind of product you're working with. But from a logistic perspective, we are really, really all into AI, and we will move to agents as a service within the coming years, where in an autonomous way, they will determine the price, the capacity, etc. So within the coming future, we will move more to agents as a service.
I mean, look at us, 2 guys chatting. Don't tell me that the future means this scenario is not going to happen. There'll still be place in the supply chain for human intervention, surely.
Absolutely. Yes, AI is here to stay, 100%, but it is all managed and given by people still. I know that maybe the assignment and the selection will be done more in an AI-driven way, but still people are extremely important. Who else will drink the coffee, right?
Absolutely.
It is something that people will still do.
And so what we're suggesting perhaps is that AI comes in and sits in next to us and becomes the perfect co-worker.
As an advisor, yes, correct.
So, well, Sjoerd, I have to say it's been a very interesting conversation. We're coming towards the end of our allotted time. So I was wondering, just to bring to the end this episode of Logistics Business Conversations, maybe describe for us some of the first steps businesses can be taking just to start embracing these new technologies that are now available to them.
Yeah, so it really depends. But you know that people are still working on an old-fashioned Excel sheet. And then there is a big room for growth, big room to go to a more digitalized process. I think it's really important as a first step that people will need to take a look at their process and audit their process. And what is also important that you can and need to do this step by step. Of course, from a commercial perspective, we love this is one big bang, but from an operational perspective, look into the process, look where you can improve with automatization, and also make sure that the company culture will cope with this adoption.
And I guess the takeaway there is that businesses need to adapt to survive and also to thrive.
Exactly. And it is like life, right? You keep adapting, you keep changing. And I know people don't like change. So at the end, change is where we make progress, and progress leads us to a better evolution. So it is time to change, Peter.
Well, that's a fabulous place to stop. Thank you to Cargo.On for supporting this edition of Logistics Business Conversations. And thanks to you, the listener, for joining us today. Wherever you get your podcasts from, please subscribe to Logistics Business Conversations to make sure the next edition is delivered straight to you as soon as it's released. Until then, it's goodbye from Sjoerd Eekelaar.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Peter.
And it's goodbye from me, Peter MacLeod. Goodbye. Well, folks, that's the last Logistics Business Conversation of 2025. We'll be back again in the new year with more interviews, more exclusive content. Thank you to all of you for coming along on the journey with us. We wish you all a very Merry Christmas, wherever you are celebrating it around the world, and see you on the other side. Bye for now.